Let's step inside the brain of Private Jeanette Vasquez from Aliens. Now, psychologically, she embodies what they call the counter stereotypical identity. She's a Latina woman in a hyper masculine Marine unit, yet she leans into aggression, strength, and grit, deliberately overperforming toughness to carve out respect. Her most famous line, "Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?" and the deadpan comeback, "No, have you?" is more than just a joke. This is an act of survival. She knows her gender and ethnicity make her a target for bias, so she weaponizes both physical dominance and sharp wit as defense mechanisms. She's essentially building an identity that no one dares to question. Now, she is hyper vigilant and has this element of controlled rage. Her combat readiness borders on a little bit pathic. It's a common trait among soldiers who live under constant threat. Vasquez has always looked coiled, eye scanning, body language is ready for violence, but unlike Hudson's panic or Gorman's indecision, her stress manifests itself as aggression funneled into control. This suggests that she channels fear into dominance, anger into a shield against anxiety, and psychologically, this is a textbook case of reaction formation, suppressing vulnerability by doubling down on the opposite emotion. Now, within the group dynamics, we see some variations in the loyalty. She is more bonded with Drake, her fellow smart gunner, and their synchronized combat moves, their inside jokes, their back and forth positioning, it shows like a different type of loyalty. And this is a phenomenon that happens among soldiers who invest trust in one partner above the rest of the group. And this explains her animosity towards outsiders, like Gorman, who she immediately views as incompetent and undeserving of loyalty, kind of until the end, but she builds on her sense of belonging not through the institute, which is the core itself, but through the earned trust through bonds with, Drake, in this instance, the real driver. Now, in her final act, staying behind with Gorman and detonating the grenade, this taps into some of Freud's concepts of a death drive. Rather than being consumed by the alien horde in a panic, she chooses control over her end. And that's not just bravery, this is the ultimate rejection of hopelessness. For Vasquez, dying on her own terms restores agency to a situation where humans are now prey. And from a psychoanalytical term, this is a way of reclaiming dignity in the face of annihilation. Now, she represents a pure Amazon archetype of a character in mythic thinking. The woman warrior who thrives in spaces that are designed to exclude her. She's also a tragic archetype, the warrior who burns too hot to ever survive her story. Her role in Aliens mirrors mythic figures that you see out of Norse Valkyrie, where she lives to die and fights in fire, ensuring her legend lives longer than her body. She's been the embodiment of this control, rage, and this weaponized identity and loyalty forged in fire. She's not just another soldier, she's a walking psychological counterpunch against vulnerability, sexism, and fear. Her strength is her shield, and at the same time, her cage. An interesting character that left an indelible mark, a truly iconic sci-fi character who's kind of crossed into developing her own mythos. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on Vasquez, and as always, if you have some other characters you want to dive deeper into, let me know in the comment section.